For Palestinians group here in Leamington Spa. We're just a voluntary group. Grew out of a group of Jews for Justice for Palestinians in 2009 during one of the earlier Israeli incursions into Gaza, and we're now a group of people of all faiths and none, and we basically believe in justice and dignity and freedom for the Palestinian people, and we've been holding vigils and awareness-raising events ever since 2009. We currently do a weekly vigil. You've perhaps seen us. We're outside Leamington Town Hall every couple of weeks. We were there yesterday. Next week we'll be in Kenilworth, and then in 2 weeks after that we'll be in Warwick, and we sort of rotate. And we run various events, and we've got a couple of films coming up that might be of interest. So on the 9th of July, we've been able to persuade Warwick Arts Centre to show a film called Planet Israel by Gillian Moseley, who's quite an award-winning film director. They're showing it for 3 nights, but on the 9th of July, we've actually got the director herself coming up for a sort of Q&A after the showing. So that'll be at Warwick Arts Centre Cinema. And then a week after that, a bit more local, at the Wild Boar in Warwick, a nice pub with a back room with a really good sound system and cinema screen. We'll be showing an interview Dr. Nick Maynard, who is a British surgeon who has been doing incredible work in Gaza really ever since 7th of October and the subsequent Israeli attacks, operating on kids and adults and trying to save lives in extraordinarily difficult circumstances. He was interviewed by Tucker Carlson on his YouTube channel, I think, not that long ago. So it would be an edited version of that, plus a film about the response to the flotilla. You remember recently there was a great scandal about how Israel was treating a group of internationals who tried to get aid into Gaza, and were then intercepted on the high seas in international waters and sort of imprisoned in Israel and then treated extraordinarily badly. Smotrich, I think it was, or Ben-Gvir, I forget, one of the extreme right Israeli cabinet ministers then was very insulting and dismissive to them, all held in stress positions on the floor, and had to sort of kowtow to him. That caused an international outcry. Palestinian prisoners have been treated like that, detainees have been treated like that, and far worse. For God knows how long, frankly. There are many tens of thousands of detainees in Israeli prisons who are, there's no due process whatsoever. There's no due process whatsoever. And that doesn't attract media attention. Anyway, yesterday we launched a set of 10 demands that we're looking to the UK government to respond to, and we had a very good meeting with our MP Matt Weston, who promised to take it up with a couple of other select committee chairs, Emily Thornbury and I think the chair of the Justice Committee. So we're starting to make a little bit of headway in Parliament, but I just wanted to run through them briefly with you. First one, fairly obviously, is to suspend all military cooperation and arms sales with Israel. You'd be surprised that we actually buy more kit from Israel than we sell them, but we also train a lot of Israeli IDF or IOF, as I see, Israeli Offense Forces, as I've seen them called, in the UK, and that should stop. It's it's a country that's committing genocide, and we're arming them, and we also provide facilities at RAF Akrotiri in Cyprus, where flights have been overflying Gaza. Originally RAF flights, then it was outsourced to a US company, and they're basically sending live feed information about the location of people in Gaza so the Israelis can bomb them and kill their families alongside them. Second one, we should meet our obligations under the Genocide Convention. The UK has a proud history in terms of the UN and international cooperation, and we were actually one of the main architects of the Genocide Convention, crafted after the Second World War and the Holocaust. And every signatory to it and every member of the United Nations is supposed to live up to the letter of the law and actually do everything in their power to prevent the commissioning of genocide. And the International Court of Justice found Israel guilty of plausible genocide, is the term they used with their sort of interim judgment. But you know, the UN, Amnesty International, lots and lots of you know, well-respected international NGOs have said this is very clearly genocide, and you have to be frankly blind not to see that. But of course our government won't use that term because it would imply that they were complicit, which they are. So we want them to live up to those expectations. We want them to respect international law and commit to enforcing the decisions. You'll remember the International Criminal Court has issued a warrant for the arrest of Benjamin Netanyahu, the Israeli PM, and Ben-Gvir, or sorry, the previous defense minister, as well as a couple of Hamas guys that have been killed in the genocide. But we had the Israeli president here. He's not indicted, but he's been extolling the virtues of genocide by saying that all Palestinians are guilty of the crime of the 7th of October, which is a nonsense. We want to protect the right to protest. I mean, just this week we've seen Judge Johnson basically sentencing people based on terrorism legislation for trashing drone parts in a factory in Bristol, Elbit Systems factory, an Israeli arms company. And what they did was criminal damage, and there was one person who was involved in injuring a police officer, so they've got a GBH conviction as well. The normal sentences there would be, I don't know, 2 or 3 years max, instead of which the judge loaded it as a terrorism offence, but he didn't allow the defendants or their lawyers to actually tell the jury what the context was, why they attacked this factory and tried to destroy property. And he sentenced them to between 4 and 7 years, which is about 2 or 3 times what they would have got had he not sort of added terrorism to the mix. So that affects us all. There's quite a few people in our group and people in Leamington who've been arrested for holding up signs saying I support Palestine action. The prescription was found to be illegal by the court, and the government's now appealing. I think the decision is due next week. It really is an attack on our right to protest. Whatever your feelings about Israel-Palestine, we have a right to protest, and that's being eroded. We want unrestricted access for aid agencies. Israel has prevented, they've I think banned about 37 international and local NGOs from operating in Gaza, who are trying to provide humanitarian assistance for the Palestinian people who are living in tents, swimming in sewage with rat infestations. We had an event last night with the deputy ambassador, the political councillor from the Palestinian embassy, and the guy running a children's charity, and he was saying that kids in tents now are getting bitten by rats. And he just made it very human by saying that he personally, they were both originally from Gaza but now live in the UK. He lost 44 members of his family in a single missile strike earlier this year. It's just astonishing. And what's even more shocking is about, I can't remember if it's 2,000 or 20,000, anyway, it is quite a significant number of British citizens who also are dual nationals of Israel. They've chosen to go and volunteer to fight for the Israeli Defense Force, the famous euphemism. So they've been involved almost certainly in internationally criminal acts, breaking international humanitarian law, possible war crimes, and yet they're not even interviewed when they come back to the UK. But do you remember that Shamima Begum, was it? Young woman from Tower Hamlets who went to join ISIS, was naively recruited, and she's been, she had her citizenship removed, and yet we've got people who are almost certainly perpetrating murder and certainly breaking international law, not even being reprimanded or interviewed on their return. So we want that to stop. And finally, we want to see an end to the conflation of Israel with Jewish people in the wider diaspora. Judaism is a venerable religion going back sort of 3 millennia or something. Zionism is to my mind an evil political settler colonial ideology founded in the late 19th century. Benjamin Netanyahu and the Israeli government are very keen to conflate attacks or criticism of the state of Israel with anti-Semitism, but the two are nothing to do with each other. It's just wrong. And when our own government parrots that and also conflates attacks on Jews in Britain, which we absolutely condemn, they don't make a connection between that and what, you know, our support for Israel and Israeli policies in Gaza and you know, attacks on Iran, etc., etc. So there are many British Jews, many of our own members, and as I say, we were founded by a group of local Jewish people who absolutely abhor and oppose what the state of Israel is doing, and do not want it to seem to be in any way done in their name. And yet, that's what Israel tries to pretend, and our government is sort of playing along with that, and we want that to stop. Anyway, enough rabbiting. Thanks very much indeed. Enjoy the rest of the music. Cheers.